Hello everyone, Toony here from Potential Synergy. In this video, we're going to talk about organization. Just to give you some context, I primarily sew garments and bags. And I think exclusively these days, purchase patterns online. So I get PDF files for my patterns. And then I print out the pattern pieces, if there are pattern pieces to print out, and I save the instructions on my computer. I don't usually print the instructions unless, like, very occasionally I will print them, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But I print pattern pieces and then I organize them in one of these containers. So let's start with garments. I have patterns number 1 and patterns number 2. Very creative naming system, I know. Previously at my old house, I put garment sewing patterns in these cubes, and I found that over time these tend to lose their shape because they're just held up by cardboard basically, and it was just annoying to take the cubes in and out of the little shelf that I had. I still use these cubes for little notions that are not heavy, but for sewing patterns I put them in here. I really like these containers. They are containers for hanging folders, and I will show you what's inside, but basically they're hanging folders, and then within each hanging folder there are envelopes, and each envelope contains pattern pieces for one pattern. I got all of these from Staples, but if you want to look into them, I'm sure Amazon has them and other big box stores has them as well, but I got these from Staples and they're pretty good. Now for bag patterns, I have this container. I don't remember the technical name for this type of container, but you can carry it and it works the same way as these. It's just smaller, and I happen to have a few of these on hand, so that's why I'm using one. So the next part, I'm gonna go over what's inside each of these containers. In the last part of the video, we're gonna talk about sewing instructions. Where do I store them? How do I access them? I hope you enjoyed the video. Let's get started. Let's start with garment patterns. This is my patterns number 1 bin. And as you can see inside the bin, there are a bunch of hanging folders with different labels. I have woven top, woven jacket, woven skirt. I have 2 hanging folders for woven pants. I have pull-on ones and ones with zippers because I have a lot of pant patterns. In addition, I also have woven overalls, t-shirts, knit tops, knit bottoms, and sweaters and sweatshirts. Now let's pull out one of the hanging folders and have a look what's inside. This one is for woven skirts. I try to organize my pattern envelopes alphabetically, and I organize them by pattern designers' names. The first one in this envelope is a pattern by Closet Core Patterns called the Fiore. It's a skirt pattern. So on the envelope, I label the pattern designer first, and then I label the pattern name if there is one. And if there's a particular view, I label that too. And finally, the size that I printed out, or the sizes if there are more than one. And of course, the pattern pieces are inside the envelope. And here are some more examples. And I actually have one paper pattern that I got from the thrift store that I've never used before. Well, I hope you get a better idea of how I organize my garment patterns, but we're just looking at patterns number 1 bin right now, so we're gonna move on to patterns number 2 bin to see what's in there. Coming up after the transition. Patterns number 2 bin is basically an overflow of patterns number 1 bin. I just have too many patterns. But these are mostly patterns for other people, like patterns for men, my husband, and kids, and just miscellaneous items. So let me just go over them real quick. We have woven dresses. I don't have a lot of dress patterns, but this is where they are. I have lingerie patterns, which there's one in there so far, and it should be called underwear because lingerie is hard for me to say. This one I lovingly labeled for hub, top. Self-explanatory. He's the only man I sew for. And the next one is for hub, bottom. I also have a handful of patterns for kids. I have aprons because I love sewing aprons. Therefore, I have a few patterns and they deserve their own hanging folder. The next one is my miscellaneous hanging folder. And finally, where do you store your sewing machine manuals? This is where I store mine. And here's the evidence. I have the manual for my Euphoria, my cover stitch machine. And here's the giant manual for my Juki DX7. I also keep documents related to my sewing machines like receipts or repair receipts in here as well. So this is how I store garment patterns. Now we're going to move on to bag patterns. All right, here it is. So like I said, I love this one because it has a handle so I can take it out. And it has also a little compartment here, and these are labels, leftover labels. And I use my Cricut to put the name on there, just to make it more fun, you know? Okay, so these are all my bag patterns, and I organize these patterns by pattern designers because it's just easier for me that way. So alphabetically again, I started with also petite, and then, you know, A, and then just goes all the way to swoon, which is the last one that I have currently. Okay, let's go with backstock design. I think a lot of bag makers know backstock designs. I have a lot of patterns, so this whole, what's this called, hanging folder is for backstock. Let's pull it out. So for example, this one, Acacia crossbody bag, this is a free pattern. At the time, I printed out the first page so that when I look at it, I know, okay, this is the pattern, this is what the bag's supposed to look, finish size, all that. And then on the back, I just have the pattern pieces in here, and also the little labeling tags. And I like to store my bag patterns in these sheet protectors because they're clear, you can see what's inside, and it's just easier. The pattern pieces are not as big as sewing patterns, so it's just easier, and I have a bunch of these. This is another example. For this pattern is from also Petite, and I printed out usually I don't print out the instructions, but for this one I did because I was one of the testers for this pattern. So, you know, when I test a pattern or when I really need to read everything, I print out the pattern instructions as well. And then the instructions go at the top, front, and then on the back. And these are pattern pieces on the back. These are all also Petite patterns, and it's just a lot easier for me to find. That's how I organize my bag pattern. It's really simple, but it works. As I mentioned before, I don't normally print out pattern instructions. Instead, I access them through Notability on my iPad or my MacBook. I'm going to show you what it looks like, what some of the main features are, and how much it costs for subscription. Welcome to my Notability. So if you look on the left here, we have folders. You can click plus to add a new one. Among my folders, I have sewing right here. So if you click on sewing, then I have a whole bunch of subfolders. Let's focus on patterns because we're talking about patterns in this video. I have bags here. So let's click on bags, and it tells me how many PDF files I have in this particular subfolder, and there are a lot. So they are here. Let me see if I can find a free pattern that I won't get in trouble for showing you. So Sewn Ideas, this is a free one, I believe. So if I click on that one, then, you know, this is the PDF file, and let's just play around for a little bit. In the file, I can, on my computer or on any devices really, I can type, hello. I can type and I can change the font. I can change the type of the font, change the size. I can change the color, make it more visible. Yeah, I can adjust the font just like your word processing feature. I can also write, and you get different colors. I think you can pick your own color as well. But I have my usual color, so I can also write. I usually write on my iPad. I have a pencil. And same thing, this is a pencil, another smiley face, so whatever you prefer to do. And this one is really useful. It's a highlighter, and when you click on it and drag, it covers the whole word. Let me see if I can do it a different way. Let's try over here, maybe it's different. So like this, my line is not straight. If I hold it, then it becomes straight. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, so there are a couple of things. It's like a note-taking app, but a perk that I really like is that you can import PDF files and annotate on the files, which unfortunately I don't see a lot of note-taking apps with this feature, with like this feature that is this well implemented. All right, so these are bag patterns. Let's look at garments. So for garments, I have garments for kids, and then I also have patterns for garment patterns for adults. Within this subfolder, I also have subfolders, and it tells me how many PDF files, or how many files really, how many documents are in each little folder. This is how I organize PDF files for garment pattern instructions. I have undergarments, underwear, bralettes. I have leggings. I have a few legging patterns, skirts, tops. I have so many, they're not showing up for some reason. Outerwear, like jackets or blazers, dresses, overalls, and pants. And this is how I organize my PDF instructions. Okay, we're gonna go back to bags, and I just wanna show you how I annotate my patterns. So I made this pouch a while back with some decorative stitching here, and I just made notes. You can also do that on Notability. Notability has like paper templates. You know, I like paper with lines, so I chose this template, but there are different templates like grid paper, you know, etc. So many options. So you can do a lot of things. Notability is great. It's a subscription service if you're okay with that route. I currently have Notability Plus, which is about $20 per year. Some other options include Evernote. I haven't used Evernote in a long time, but I remember paying for it for a while. Also, Microsoft OneNote is similar. You can import PDF files and annotate on them. GoodNotes is another popular one. I used to use GoodNotes. Now I just use Notability. I hope this video has been helpful. If you have any questions regarding anything that I have mentioned in this video, please leave your questions in the comments. I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.